Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, Honey has been exposed for committing fraud. TikTok is getting a date with the Supreme Court. YouTube is cracking down against clickbait, of all things. Everything we know about the Nintendo Switch has been leaked. And the Hawk Tuah girl finally woke up. All that and more come up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, North 2 a.m. Go to bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Falcon. This is it. Last full episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech for 2024. Whew. What a year. What a year. Next week, we will have an episode. It is going to be our prediction episode. Do not expect it to be very long. I fully expect it to just pretty much be maybe 30-45 minutes after trimming. It's just the way everything is landing. I don't expect to have a whole lot of stories. If there is any stories, we'll go ahead and cover them. But for the most part, it's just going to be reflecting on the predictions I did make for 2024. How many of them were correct and incorrect? Spoiler alert, they are most likely... I actually haven't looked at my predictions. I don't even know where the list is. I'm going to hope that it's in my documents folder. Because if it's not, then I have to go recreate it from last year's episode, which means my prep suddenly went from about 2 hours to go come up with new predictions to about 10. That would suck. So I don't expect the next episode to take very, very long at all. So we shall see how things go down. Meanwhile, though, we do have some, I don't know if I'd really call it breaking news, because it's technically news from Saturday and we're recording it on Sunday, but it feels very, very breaking because this investigation from YouTuber Megalag crossed my feed today. In fact, as I'm recording that, this actually threw my entire prep schedule out of whack just because I was ready to roll, and then this crossed my feed. It's like, how big could this be? And then you go into the investigation by this YouTuber, and you're just like, that can't be. And you go and test it, and holy cow, it actually is. So what's going on here? Megalag is exposing honey. What is honey? Honey is a delicious syrup-like consistency food product that you collect from bees. It is also a add-on that you add to your browser that is supposed to scour the internet for every single kind of promotional code and apply whatever the best one is. Most of the time, you will find that there are no active codes because rarely are there ever active codes. Most of the codes that are out there are temporary. However, things get kind of weird. So there's multiple steps to this. And in fact, Megaleg has implied heavily that he has more to reveal and is working further on this investigation to reveal more down the road. But primarily what is being looked at right now is what's called commissions. If you go ahead and get a product through an affiliate link, and this can be for a multitude of different products through Amazon, probably one of the most notorious ones, Newegg, Best Buy. A lot of places have affiliate links where influencers will say, hey, I found this thing. It's really cool. You should go ahead and get it through the link below. If you get it through the link below, the influencer gets a cutback or a cut of that, a kickback or a cutback, as I almost badly said. All right. They get a little bit back. All right. I'd say that's fair, right? Of course, this now brings into question, if you didn't know that the influencer are getting a kickback from that, how honest is their opinion? You know, there is a little bit of that. I assure you, though, whenever I do that sort of thing, because all I ever make is the affiliate, the affiliate payment for that, it's only gonna be stuff that I would get myself, because they never, ever, ever go ahead and pay me anything. But, you know, I digress. That is pretty much just like the norm, the standard in the influencer world. However, if you were to go ahead and buy something through an affiliate link like that, through Honey, what they will do is they will go ahead and say they are trying a whole bunch of codes. Most of the time, none of them work. But what they're then doing is, after trying all of these codes, Honey tweaks the affiliate link. Inside the link that you're going through, it will have a tag and a cookie that gives credit to whomever the affiliate link is associated with. So if you went ahead and went through one of mine, it might say somewhere in the very long HTML header or the URL, there might be something that says like tag equals eagle F or something like that, right? It might not, I don't know. All right. However, if you go ahead and search for the best code with Honey, it will replace the tag and the tracking cookie with PayPal. PayPal, by the way, is the owner of Honey. And I think it's also very important to note that it is replaced it with PayPal, not Honey. Meaning that this is not a practice that went on before PayPal bought Honey and they just didn't know any better. No, it's actively changed to after PayPal took ownership. So now instead of the influencer who went ahead and did the marketing and convinced you to go ahead and get this thing, now it is PayPal and Honey getting the commission after doing nothing, after doing literally nothing. In addition, there is another thing that Honey is doing that is also under investigation, where in fact it is intentionally omitting various codes unless companies pay out to Honey to go ahead and use them. They're kind of trying to do this wonderful little quirky pay to play sort of scheme going on top of just secretly ripping commissions from products. By the by, as an added bonus, if you try applying Honey without an affiliate code, lo and behold, all of a sudden one is applied for PayPal. The amount that this little add-on is trying to pull by doing nothing other than just being there and maybe sometimes finding a weird code somewhere that works. Because I used to use Honey. Why wouldn't you? In fact, it's actually, you can even see it on my bar. It's right there. I didn't uninstall it yet. And after going ahead and doing my testing, it confirmed that what Megaleg said is in fact correct. I mean, who hasn't? If it's just free savings, who wouldn't want to go ahead and try that and see how it works for them? Huzzah, huzzah, free money saved. Why wouldn't you? But instead, all it's doing is just fraudulently trying to exploit commission systems that countless other websites have. Not only are they trying to rip off other influencers, but they're also trying to scam systems by retailers meant to reward influencers for doing commission-based advertising for them, and instead just go ahead and collect that money without actually doing anything, because Honey doesn't draw traffic anywhere. There's a lot of different times where we go ahead and improperly use the word scam or fraud. This is actual fraud. In my opinion, this actually even meets the legal definition of fraud. It, of course, is going to vary from site to site to site that Honey is exploiting in this way. And then on top of that, there are other add-ons just like Honey that operate in a very similar manner. In fact, during the investigation, Megaleg even said that Linus Tech Tips, one of the influencers that promoted Honey, said they stopped working with Honey after they found out that something was going on where Honey was straight up hijacking their, what's the right word? Their affiliate cookie. and said we didn't want to work with them anymore. So we moved on. They went on to another one. I already forgot the name of it. You know, I am now drawing a complete blank as to what the name of the add-on is. And I don't want to go ahead and I think I know which one it is, but I don't want to say in case I am wrong, because that then is technically slander. So the point is that you want to talk about what the big story is going to be going into 2025. It is going to be, someone in chat says it's Clara. I don't know if that's the one. I don't want to, again, I don't want to, I don't want to say whether it is or isn't. Okay, well, I Googled Clara and it's set, and the first thing that comes up is conversational patient engagement software. So I don't think that is it, especially in these early stages. Like, here's gonna be the big thing. Don't be surprised, whereas going into 2025, every single honey competitor is looked into, because this is not a hard thing to look into. It is not hard to go ahead, install one of these add-ons in a virtual machine, try to purchase something, check your cookies and see, has there been a cookie hijack? Has there been an affiliate link hijack? It won't be hard to investigate this. And you know, if I have more information going into the next episode, sure, I'll talk about it. I don't think we're going to go ahead and get a whole lot, but we will go ahead and see what on earth is going on. Someone else in chat says that it's possibly Klarna. Let's take a look at Klarna real quick. Okay, Klarna actually is a actually does look like it is a something similar to Honey. It looks like it's actually kind of, Klarna actually is its own web store though, it looks like. What on earth is this? Yeah, I think this is more its own web store. Someone in chat says Klarna is a Swedish bank. Klarna does what PayPal does. They loan money for purchases. I got a feeling there might be two Klarnas. Just call it a hunch. I think there might be two Klarnas. Because like this is straight up its own marketplace. Wait. No, but it's featuring other stores. This is a rabbit hole for another day. We are getting... This is very, very quickly becoming its own rabbit hole. We got other stories to go through. We've had the fact that we've had for like, man, it's what, a bank and a marketplace and there is so much to unpack just in that one site. Just like there's a lot to unpack with this one story. Ladies and gentlemen, law enforcement unlock a journalist's phone and then infect the phone with malware. Just in case you ever thought for a minute that things were dystopian wherever you were at, wherever you are, just remember, somewhere out there it is far, far worse. This story comes from Serbia, where Serbian authorities actually used a tool called Celebrite to go ahead, crack into a phone, and then load the phone with malware, specifically to go ahead and track said journalists. Why are we talking about this? I'm not gonna lie, it's mainly for one reason, and one reason only. Because when someone tells you that there's no way out there to break into your phone, I guarantee you there are always tools. Professionals go ahead and make tools just for law enforcement. Maybe not in North America, maybe not even in Europe, where law enforcement has more respect for their journalists. But once you start going into some other countries where they just don't care, whoo, never underestimate the depths at which things can go. And think about this for a minute. Let's ignore the fact for a minute that this is something that law enforcement is doing to a journalist. What happens if these tools, this Celebrite tool, gets into the hands of, I don't know, someone a bit more malicious? I'm not talking about any sort of, I don't mean anything bigger, like a government or anything. I just mean any kind of bad actor, some kind of black hat hacker out there that wants to go ahead and just make a profit. Imagine if this gets into the hands of people who craft up ransomware. The fact that these tools are made professionally is, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of scary. And it is something that I do recommend, you know. It's a scary world out there. These kind of tools do, in fact, exist. And the best advice I can give for you, whatever you do, please don't go anywhere super sketchy on your phone. Please, pretty please. Don't download suspicious links. I'm sorry. There aren't hot wizards in your area. That is a scam link. Just don't do it. Someone in chat says, why not? Because there aren't. There just aren't. Speaking of things there aren't any drones in the sky. Mostly because, well, the FAA has now banned all drones in the skies in several New Jersey towns and in New York infrastructure sites. No fly zone issued because this whole thing is just getting completely and utterly out of hand. You know what the worst part is? Nobody has a definite answer for what's going on. Still, I have heard so many theories about this. The best running theory, and the one I think is accurate at this time, is that this first started with new kinds of Boeing planes that were going into the air that are supposed to be faster and sound different than previous planes, which then caused the stir going, oh wow, that's really weird. What's that? And then other people heard about this and thought, you know, I can be a dingus. And then went ahead and started flying up drones to go ahead and create more buzz, which then got more people's attention, and more people wanted to go ahead and get in on the buzz. And it just started becoming a massive snowball effect until it became a nationwide phenomenon. That's my theory right now when it comes to what exactly happened. I don't believe there's an Iranian mothership or whatever other nonsense was spread out there in regards to these things. But now it's gotten to the point where not only has the FAA issued a no-fly zone over large chunks of New Jersey and New York, but also now Chuck Schumer, who wants to go home and sleep, wants answers for all of this. Chuck Schumer being the current... Actually, is he the current? I actually don't know what position in the Senate he is right now. I know he's Democrat leader. I don't know if he's technically majority leader or not. Regardless, big dogs over at the Senate want answers. Here's a spoiler. They're not going to get answers. I'm sorry, Chuck Schumer. With a forehead that big, you're just not going to get answers. No, obviously, you're not going to get answers because it's freaking 3 days before Christmas. Anyone who actually had answers, you know where they are? They're not in the office at the FAA or anywhere. They are home. They're on vacation. I guarantee it. So, good luck getting your answers. That being said, though, I will be absolutely stunned if the answer is anything other than, yeah, it was a weird airplane, and then a bunch of jerks. The end. Meanwhile, though, there's another deadline that is very quickly approaching. One that is a major, major concern for one social media platform. That, of course, is TikTok. TikTok is, in fact, on the clock on January, I believe, 16th is the deadline. I'm sorry, January 19th is the deadline for when TikTok is officially banned from the United States. Completely. TM. So TikTok is now pleading to the Supreme Court for an emergency ruling on the law as their last avenue of going to the federal appeals court bared no fruit at all. There is, however, an update to this. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case, and they'll be hearing the case January 10th, a little over a week before the ban goes into effect. Cutting a little close there, aren't you? Whew. Cutting it very, 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 very close. It's just an overall mess. Now, there's a lot to take in from this. Because the thing is that the Supreme Court doesn't take a whole lot of cases. In fact, just them taking the case means that they have something to say about it. The Supreme Court would not go ahead and take this and just say, yeah, whatever, the appeals court had it right. Yeah, whatever, move on, go away. Yada, yada, yada. They would just refuse to take the case if that was it. So does this mean that the Supreme Court is going to go ahead and reverse the ban for whatever reason? Not necessarily. It could be that they're going to go ahead, reinforce the ban, but then also in their ruling, for whatever reason, saying that pick a thing that it is the constitutional right of the legislative body to go ahead and put in bans like this if it is deemed and thoroughly investigated that in fact the company is a security threat to the United States, or something to that effect. It could also be that no, you can't ban a company because you believe they're a security threat, you have to thoroughly investigate them. Who knows? It's very, very difficult to say where this is going to go. I'm not going to pretend I know where this is going to go. The only thing I can say for certain is that the Supreme Court is not going to say, oh yeah, appeals court had it right, for sure. Someone in chat says, not if they're just trying to save face with China, the Supreme Court ignoring their pleas could be seen poorly. Even then, they would normally just say, you know, we have heard you, however, we see no reason to take up the case. And they've done exactly that quite a lot of times. It would be one thing if it was, you know, not a court, because the court is supposed to be politically neutral. The key word here is supposed to. So any sort of thing that if it was to go ahead and look at this, they're not going to go at, how do I phrase this right? They're not going to go ahead and take something up just because it puts on a good look for a foreign nation, especially since they are talking about the U.S. division of TikTok. But again, at this point, it's hard to say. I'm already seeing people say that, oh, because the Supreme Court took this on, the TikTok ban is going to be off for sure, for realsies. Not necessarily. Don't get your hopes up. There is a lot of different ways this could go. For now, all we can do literally is wait until, I don't know, when do you think we get an answer? They're going to review it on the 10th of January. That is a Friday. That's when they're going to take up the case. The 11th and the 12th, a weekend. I will say here's my prediction that I'm not going to go ahead and put into the prediction episode. I'm going to say ruling on this case on the 17th, on that Friday in the morning. I want to double check. The ban is on the 19th, correct? Yeah, it's on the 19th. Now, one thing I haven't heard about, and this would actually say a lot about how they plan on ruling if they did this. To my knowledge, and not a whole lot of articles have talked about, in fact, no article I've seen so far has talked about this. There is no statement if the court has put a stay on the law. Normally what ends up happening is that if there is a law that is supposed to be going into effect and a court plans on striking it down, at least from what I've seen, they'll usually issue what is called a stay on the law, meaning that the law cannot go into effect until the ruling is over. To my knowledge, a stay has not been placed on this law. It could also be that you just can't, that's actually just something that happens on the state level. So that is the only other bit of information I can glean from all of this, given my limited legal knowledge in how the Supreme Court of the United States works, without going ahead and injecting politics into it too much. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. When we come back, I actually want to talk about another thing from China that actually might get banned. Don't go anywhere. We will be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. I wasn't kidding when I said there is yet another Chinese product that could be banned from the US. This is actually in regards to TP-Link, a brand of routers that is actually pretty popular for being relatively low cost, of course. The main reason they are being looked at being banned is because of the absolute outright refusal of TP-Link actually issuing any kind of security updates to their products. So you know how quite frequently when we talk about weird Chinese products, we talk about security vulnerabilities that are put in intentionally. This isn't a case of literally just gross negligence on behalf of the company just refusing to put out updates for these routers to put them in compliance with modern security standards. And they're just being like, all right, you know what? I think we're just done with these because this is just not a good product for anyone to use. And like, part of me is just like, it's a router. Who cares? It puts out a Wi-Fi signal. What are the odds of people actually going ahead and actually need to use the built-in security on their router? But at the same time, there are a lot of other products that are just forbidden from being sold because they don't meet specific kinds of safety standards. And granted, an insecure router is a lot less likely to cause major problems than, say, I don't know, drippy, moldy cheese in a Lunchables competitor, or, you know, a defective acceleration pedal inside of a low poly pickup truck, or many other products that, you know, have had recalls of some way, shape, or form. But at least in a lot of those cases, the parent companies did something about the problem. If the company just keeps refusing to do anything, you know, what do? Well, it appears that what you end up doing is this. It's just kind of interesting timing that this is coming on the heels of the TikTok ban, which is more about suspicion of being a security threat rather than just negligence of the company. So quite possibly could be soon you are not going to be able to buy TP-Link routers unless they go ahead and actually update their security. Speaking of security, how's this one for you? Hackers are jailbreaking digital license plates that apparently are a real thing that really exist in order to make other people pay their tolls and tickets. You know, sometimes I wonder why we digitalize stuff other than for the sake of just saying that it's modern. Because, like, why would you ever need to replace a metal license plate with, say, like an e-ink one or one that's digital? Like, how often are you changing out your license plates on a vehicle that changing it via button or something like that is just that much better, rather than, you know, removing 4 rusted bolts and putting on a new one? Like, that is a question that comes to mind. Like, why are digital license plates, of all things, a thing that exists? But then, of course, you then hear, oh, hey, hackers are going ahead and hacking into digital license plates that they own, changing their plate numbers to make it so that when they have to go ahead and pay tolls and tickets, it's under someone else's numbers. I'm not surprised by that. Are you surprised by that? Now that you know that digital license plates are a thing that exists? You really, really shouldn't be. But lo and behold, there it is. Just shake your head. It's not a good thing. It's just sometimes we don't need to go high tech for things like this. There are times where it's just actually a bad decision. Meanwhile, though, YouTube is up to some interesting things. First off, they are allowing creators to go ahead and actually, for once, opt out of their videos being used for third-party AI training. Isn't that great? I'm sorry, I read it wrong. It's opt-in. You can now opt in to being used for third-party training. Raise your hand if you're going to do that. Hear me out, though. Okay? Hear me out. Here's what you should do. You should make a YouTube channel. You should opt in to letting the channel be used into third-party AI training. Keep in mind, this is third-party. More than likely, YouTube videos are being used for Google's AI training without your consent. I'm fully convinced that that's going on. But you should go ahead, enable this, but then make sure on that YouTube channel that's not your primary YouTube channel, all you upload is useless garbage. You should just upload other people's AI generated slop. Feed into the AI algorithm more of itself so that the whole thing decays more and more and more and more and more as it tries to go ahead and learn from its already existing slop that that's okay, and things just degrade more and more and more. See, this is actually a benefit to everyone because now we can go ahead and just mess with people. See, we actually have a plan. That's all you got to do. Just go ahead, make slop, opt in, say, yep, you should totally use this for all AI content creation, and just feed in more. That's how you fight against the machine, I swear. All in all, I find it just mildly amusing, the fact that Google is even giving the option to let other people other than Google go ahead and train off YouTube data. What's that? You're hoping for YouTube news that's actually good? How about actually cracking down on clickbait? Yes, it actually is a real thing that is really going on. YouTube wants to crack down on existing clickbait. Why? Well, it appears to be in accordance to whatever is going on over in India, because that is actually the first place that is being worked on, is over in India, of all places. I'm actually very curious if there's some big pressure going on over in India with YouTube about all these various clickbaits. Because, man, let me tell you, you want to talk about misleading titles? I think the only place that's worse than YouTube is actual news sites. Then again, YouTube's pretty bad too. I don't know. What is worse? Political websites, or actually what's worse? Facebook or YouTube? I mean, YouTube, you have the such and such situation is crazy, and all it is just something talking about free ice cream or something stupid like that. Zona chat said, will there be no more pictures of someone who crapped his pants and is pointing at something? Probably not, because unfortunately that still generates clicks. Also, can I just say, I am so sick of that, because man, every single YouTube thumbnail is exactly that. It's literally someone with their mouth agape going, oh. The worst part is it works. That's easily the worst part about it all. We all wish it wouldn't work, but it does. But we'll see how this crackdown goes. Maybe it'll go everywhere except the US. That would be my luck too, right? SanDisk is no longer owned by Western Digital. SanDisk, if you don't know, is a flash storage company, and I almost guarantee you the SD card in your camera that you forgot about, or the SD card in your Nintendo Switch, or whatever portable device you have, whatever the SD card is, I almost guarantee you it's a SanDisk. Because I swear SanDisk makes up 80% of all SD cards. Like, I don't know, like, no one ever actively seeks out a SanDisk, but by God, you always seem to end up with one. Well, SanDisk is no longer owned by Western Digital. They are now their own company. And as their own company, they decided to actually make their new company logo slightly interesting. I'm not gonna lie, like, corporate logos, I don't think there's been a single corporate logo in recent memory that was actually an improvement off the old one. But considering the fact that SanDisk's font before was just basically like Arial, and they switched to this with like the bottom of the S's cut off and a little bit of like quirkiness to it, I'm not gonna lie, this might be the first corporate logo upgrade in a while that actually looks kind of good. Someone in chat said this is 200% Cyberpunk 2077. As someone who has been afraid to try and fire up Cyberpunk 2077 on his computer, I cannot confirm or deny this fact. Someone else is going to have to provide info on it. But, you know, this is their new logo. Deal with it. Honestly, it does not look that bad. I think of all the bad ones, though. Remember the updated Pepsi logo? When it literally became Arial font and the most boring two-tone circle that ever existed? Or the Pringles logo that literally looks older? Like, so many corporate upgrade logos are just awful. Oh, well. Someone in chat says, I'd seriously expect this to be the in-universe ads across Night City. I, again, cannot confirm or deny this. It's quite possible. But hopefully I wish SanDisk all the best things as they move forward. Next up, I want to talk about hardware. Let's talk about Arrow Lake. What is Arrow Lake? Arrow Lake is Intel's latest CPUs. And their latest CPUs, how do we put it? They were bad. They were really, really bad. And it looks like there is going to be a new update to the microcode that is going to improve performance. And people who have gone ahead and gotten a hold of this update has said that, yes, there is an improvement. It's still not great. Here's the biggest problem. Like, Arrow Lake now is on par with the new Zen 5 architecture. But the thing is that the new Zen 5 architecture has the Ryzen 7 9800X 3D, which is just absolutely curb stomps every other Zen 5 processor, and thus by default curb stomps the Ultra 200, which is the Arrow Lake desktop CPUs. So it's just like, cool, you're still disappointing. You've just now compared to the other bit of disappointment we have over there. Good job. We're still going to go ahead and go with the thing that's not a disappointment. It just is what it is. And that's only in select testing too, where it actually is on par. Others are saying that, no, not quite. It's not there yet. And there are, in fact, is supposed to be a new BIOS update coming soon for Core Ultra 200 that will show even further performance updates. Whether they'll be the case, it's hard to say as of yet. Meanwhile, though, here's an interesting little report. Valve is going to be at CES as a guest to Lenovo. We are already starting to hear those three letters. Those three letters, that means that I'm going to have to go ahead and spend several days in preparation of the podcast. CES. The Consumer Electronics Show 2025 is, in fact, going to be coming very, very soon. I already forgot what date it is, and we're already starting to hear some of the things we can expect, including Lenovo's new handheld console that does show more and more evidence of running Steam OS. So it does look like, in fact, yes, there may, in fact, be an updated Steam Deck. It just won't be from Steam. I'm going to be very curious how it runs. My philosophy on all of these kind of handheld portable devices that run PC games has been that the Steam Deck works so well because the operating system is so efficient, and all these other ones have absolutely terrible battery life because they have to have such high-end processors and such high-end CPUs and GPUs to get around the fact that they run Windows, which is a very heavy, bulky, inefficient operating system. And before you go ahead and say, yeah, that's why I use Mac OS, shut up. Your operating system is nowhere near as efficient. your processor is. Mac OS is still a bloated mess. And now it's made even worse because it has to have not one, not two, but 3 different bits of legacy code built into it. Someone in chat says they use Chrome OS. Stop lying. Stop lying to yourself. One does not simply use Chrome OS. Chrome OS uses you. Chrome OS is a toxic relationship. So seeing this thing run SteamOS is going to be very, very interesting, and I am going to be very curious what kind of frame rate they're going to get out of it compared to a Windows powered equivalent. Is my theory going to be correct that in fact SteamOS is going to be a much lighter operating system, thus you're going to get near console levels of efficiency out of the hardware in it, and that's why the Steam Deck works so well? Or does it turn out that no, the processor's just good? It's gonna be very, very interesting to see what happens when reviewers get their hands on this thing. Meanwhile, though, Nvidia is using you to go ahead and cripple your gaming performance, because the new Nvidia app, which replaces the GeForce control panel, is reportedly hindering gaming performance by up to 15%. Good job, Nvidia. Good job. You know, Nvidia, if you just wanted to go ahead and just use the resources I paid for to just support crypto mining or whatever the heck you're doing with my 15% performance, you could have just asked. I mean, at this point, with your dominance in the market, I mean, you might as well just go ahead and tell gamers, hey, mine crypto for us or else. And they have no choice but to actually accept it, because the only other option is to not game, because that's pretty much where Nvidia has us right now. You understand why I want AMD and Intel to get their butt into gear? Because now the use of this app is now mandatory. This data mining piece of actual software garbage is mandatory to use an NVIDIA GPU. And the best part is that depending on your use case, it is mandatory to use an NVIDIA GPU. If you're in AI training, guess what? You're using an NVIDIA GPU or a Mac. If you are going ahead and you're broadcasting as a streamer, guess what? You're using an NVIDIA GPU, because the AV1 encoder is only supported on NVIDIA. Even though other GPUs have it, too bad. Twitch and YouTube only support NVIDIA's, because pound sand. All of the anti-competitiveness of NVIDIA has led to this. You have to use their app. It is running in the background. It is hindering performance in some cases, I might add, in some cases. And you have no choice about it. Isn't it great? Isn't that wonderful? I don't know about you, but I absolutely love my performance being sucked up by spyware that is mandatory for me to use. It's a new feature to be spied upon like that. Aren't you glad that that's a feature now that you get for giving way too much money to NVIDIA? Isn't that great? Is my frustration obvious yet? No. On the bright side, though, Zotac has decided that they just don't care and have leaked an entire list of all the NVIDIA GPUs that are going to be coming out. They have accidentally filed a list of all the GPUs as they're going ahead and applying for cards to be sold. This includes the 5090, the 5090D, the 5080, the 5070 Ti, and the 5070. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't know the price. There have been some speculation on the price, but I don't want to run with those prices because I don't care. And I want to huff a whole lot of hopium that it's not as expensive as people are speculating. But I'm going to be perfectly honest. Who's really surprised by this? Yep, there's going to be an RTX 5090. No surprise. It's probably going to be a $2,000 card. There's going to be a 5090 DIC. Yep, that sounds about right. Why not? Just go ahead and just take the D and the L while you're at it. Yep. Honestly, the 5090D will most likely only be sold in China. That is going to be a model that barely gets gets just slightly downclocked to get under a what's the right term? Sanction. It gets under a sanction that's placed under China. So most likely the 5090 DIC we will not actually see here in the States. We do not get the D. RTX 5080, no 5080 Ti yet, but we are seeing a 5070 Ti, which is going to be a half step up from the RTX 5070. I almost guarantee you the cheapest of these cards is going to be $600. I almost guarantee it. I'm just going to go ahead and just shake my head, sigh, because there's a whole lot of expletives I could give of what I think is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. The only people that know what's going to happen come CES is NVIDIA and their board partners. But I have no hope that this is going to be consumer friendly at all. I strongly suspect that these cards are going to be maybe a little more VRAM. I can already tell you right now, my 4060 right now that's in my gaming PC, or not my gaming PC, my streaming PC, certain games max out the VRAM. The VRAM they load in there is not enough, and it's already a bottleneck. I imagine these are going to get slightly more VRAM. Slightly. Very slight. Just enough to make you go, yep, that's an improvement, all right. But just enough that, you know, in the next 2 years, and the next model comes out, when the 60 series comes out, that one's going to look a little bit better because you're maxing on RAM again. You're maxing on that VRAM. Like, this is what NVIDIA's done to us. We used to be excited when NVIDIA put out new cards. We used to be excited for board partners. Like, board partners used to put out like double 4080 GPUs that were crazy high end and were just like absolute behemoths that utilized SLI to go ahead and get well above normal standard power out of them. They used to be cards that were like decently affordable, unless you went for like the crazy over the top cards that some of these manufacturers went ahead and went nuts so over. Now what used to get you a high end card gets you entry level. And this isn't a case of, as someone in chat said, old man yells at cloud. This is literally a case of NVIDIA tightening control over their board partners, knowing they have a market domination in this, and squeezing every single consumer for maximum profit. NVIDIA right now is literally a monopoly. And I, for one, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of NVIDIA just going out there and pushing out a brand new card, making it barely better than the old one, which this one most likely will be. Barely more VRAM, just enough to make your old card feel inadequate because it ran out of RAM. It doesn't have enough to run modern games. And then, you know, put the screws to your wallet some more. I fully expect that. I don't even want to speculate about the fact that I can see two SLI connectors at the top of the 5090 cards in this article. We go, oh man, maybe there's a chance SLI is coming back. You know, maybe there's a chance that we could see some cool innovations coming to the GPU space. What's the point? When in order to take advantage of that, you're looking at, you know, the average person spending 2 months of their take-home pay to go ahead and make a rig out of this brand new tech. What's the point? It just feels tone deaf. It's just exhausting. And I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the reasons why we're all here in the PC space just really cheering for Intel, who put out a card that was a great performer, plenty of VRAM, 16 gigabytes of VRAM on a $250 card. By the way, $250 card, and it outperforms the $300 and $400 cards. Well, definitely the $300 cards. Ties are get slightly beaten by some $400 cards for $250. We're cheering for Intel. What is this GPU market? We'll see, though. We'll see. This is all rumors, though, coming from a list that Zotac filed. We'll have to wait and see how things are going. Someone in chat says that the Intel card's already getting scalped. Oh, well. Here's the thing. What do you think's going to happen if they try to scalp a budget card? Especially when there's not some kind of alternate force other than the market wanting cheaper cards powering the demand. This isn't like... All right. I haven't gone in. I can't confirm whether Intel cards are getting scalped. Let's just say for the benefit of the doubt that they are. There's no crypto boom powering the demand of Intel cards. The Intel cards are just, kind of meh at AI acceleration. And on top of that, AI acceleration really wants the crazy high-end cards. So the only thing that's powering demand of the Intel cards is literally their intended use case. Gamers and potentially business people that just want a little extra GPU horsepower powering whatever application they're working on, whether it be CAD or whatever. All you got to do is just hold, and the scalpers get what's coming to them. It's not like the NVIDIA ones where the frickin' crypto bros are willing to pay whatever it takes to go ahead and print money. There's nothing like that powering an Intel scalping. So it's just a matter of holding out. Someone in chat says, but little Johnny wants to hold his new GPU on Christmas morning. I feel like if little Johnny is asking for a frickin' Intel 580 for Christmas, when this thing launched 2 weeks ago, I think little Johnny's put out his Christmas list a little late. To be perfectly, like, this thing was it, like, let's be honest, if you're trying to go ahead and time something for the holiday season, you wanted this thing out like almost a full month before Christmas. After that, it starts getting really tight, especially since this Christmas shopping season was one of the tightest there was. I would say still just hold. I honestly do believe that a scalping issue over these Intel ones, the scalpers are stupid. That's just all there is to it. They're going to be left holding the bag on this one, because it's not like Intel has to count on TSMC or any other foundry that's going to go ahead and get a massive bottleneck. They make their own chips. They're in control of their own supply line. As far as electronics go, this might be one of the dumbest things to try and scalp, because there's no sign of a shortage, other than the fact that initial demand was significantly higher than originally expected, because it's the first GPU in a while that actually performed and didn't cost a kidney. So, no, I think a scalping issue with Intel is basically a non-issue. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, a Redditor has leaked everything about the upcoming Switch successor. We're going to get into details on what I think about these. And I'll tell you what right now, it's probably not what you think. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. So, a Reddit user claims that he's gotten hands-on time with the new Nintendo Switch, allegedly confirmed by moderators, and can confirm many things, including the fact that the name of the console is, in fact, the Switch 2. The Switch 2. The same company that has made the Super Nintendo, the GameCube, the Wii U, the 3DS, the new 3DS, is going to go ahead and call something the Switch 2. The logo as well just appears to just be the standard Switch logo with the number 2 next to it, with the standard Nintendo Switch font exactly below it. And all right, you know what? We're going to keep going. And I'll save all my thoughts to the end. All right. The device itself has no actual photos because it'd be too obvious who they were, but the leaker gave many details, saying that there is a new C button in the upper right-hand side, but now we know the specific mechanism behind the 2 new Joy-Cons. If the leak is correct, the magnets attached to the Joy-Con to the device are are the buttons themselves, a detail so strange and specific that it lent to credence to the rest of the information. Let me interject for a minute. You mean to tell me, I want to make sure I have this right, all right? You mean to tell me that it is strange to you that the Nintendo Switch, the sequel to it, would go ahead and on its side controllers that slide off, all right? I have a Nintendo Switch right here. I have my OLED one that I use to stream with. Would on the mechanism itself that releases off, that would be a strange concept to have buttons already in the mechanism that it attaches with. That's a strange thought to you. That's a strange mechanism. For those listening to the audio version, I showed my Nintendo Switch Joy-Con that already has not one, not two, but 3 buttons in the rail. Look, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. I said I'd save my thoughts until the end. I'm gonna do just that. These new Joy-Cons apparently have a hidden feature, which the leaker didn't want to fully reveal. Let me interject. Why? Why wouldn't you want to fully reveal them? You're already revealing everything else. You're already painting a freaking Nintendo-sized target on your back. But they said, think lasers, which may mean something like infrared sensor on the Nintendo Wii remote. Yep, we've never seen that before. They confirmed that earlier leaks were accurate and noted the overall weight is similar to existing hardware. The additional USB-C port at the top was present on the model they tested. Although it's probable just an additional USB port, the Z and R buttons were slightly bigger. The sticks. All right, you know what? I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I don't believe the leak. I don't at all. Because literally the only proof this guy gave us is this logo that could have easily been done in Photoshop by pinning down which font this is, get a 2, freaking move this to the side, and then throw a 2 up there. It is the laziest Photoshop I have seen, and it's taking every fiber of my being not to swear. It is extremely difficult for me to not swear in this. The article going ahead and saying that things are unusual, like the thought of the magnets being the buttons themselves. First off, that seems unlikely, because if there's any metal mechanisms that trigger the buttons themselves that are ferric, that are not ferrous or magnetic, that means those buttons are going to very easily get stuck. All right. I don't believe that detail. That doesn't make sense to me. The fact that you go ahead and take the guy's word for it because there's extra buttons that are part of the mechanism is beyond stupid, because you can already see in the Joy-Con already that we have right now. Oh, look at that. The shoulder buttons are right there. Ooh. And he's like, I don't want to make it too obvious what it is, but think lasers. Ooh, maybe there's an infrared sensor like there is already on the current Joy-Con. Guess what? Almost nothing uses the infrared sensor on the Joy-Con. Here, you want to know what the Switch 2 is going to be like? It's going to have a new mechanism for attaching the Joy-Cons. It's going to have a new mechanism for 2 reasons. 1, because the old mechanism had flaws that were exposed and had some early growing pains for the Switch. A bunch of us still remember that from 7 years ago? However old the Switch is, there's going to be a new attaching mechanism. There might be a slightly different button layout. I think that the 2 USB ports makes a whole lot of sense. I wouldn't be surprised that there's not 2 USB ports. I think if there is 2 USB-C ports, they're going to offset them so that you can't put your Switch in the wrong way. But if you're expecting Nintendo to go ahead and put out something wild, like oh my God, a 1440p display, and it's going to be OLED out of the gate and capable of producing 144 hertz on the tablet display itself with 18 years battery life and able to do 8K docked and other things like that, you need to stop smoking whatever you're smoking. Nintendo does one thing extremely well, and that's making the console, as affordable as possible, and then lock it down as tight as possible so that they can go ahead and make their money on what they actually make their money on. And that's going to be the subscription services for playing online and also now playing your older games as well, your legacy retro titles as well as just straight up buying your games. I'm just going to tell you this right now. More than likely, the Switch 2 is not going to be its title. What is the actual title going to be? Knowing Nintendo, probably the Nintendo Switch Up. I don't know. It's going to be something you don't expect because no one expected the Wii U. No one expected the second gen 3DS to be called the new 3DS. They're not going to call it the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo's not that unimaginative. They're going to go ahead and have something that really separates it. Also, for crying out loud, your leaker's name is Sex, Drugs, and Marmalade. I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure you're just taking the word of an obvious troll. And your confirmation for why this source is trustworthy, this kind of blind belief is why we got our frickin' necks dragged around by a leash everywhere about the frickin' Nintendo Switch Pro. Remember the Nintendo Switch Pro? Remember how everyone kept swearing up and down it was going to happen, it was going to happen, it was going to happen, oh my god, it's going to happen, and all the hype kept building, and everyone kept confirming the thing? And I had serious doubts until there was just way too many people saying they have their own individual source that confirmed this, and it turned out, nope, they were all freaking wrong. Lo and behold, we see the same thing going out again. I am willing to bet the second Nintendo Switch, the new Nintendo Switch, is going to end up not being as big as people expect. It is going to be a trimmed down device because Nintendo doesn't make crazy high-end consoles. They leave that to Sony to go push out an $800 console. They leave that to Microsoft to go ahead and push out a $500 box and then embrace the meme and then make a $300 fridge for your $500 box. Nintendo is old school in the fact they just want to get a console out there and don't care how well it performs. That's the big takeaway. I'm telling you right now, temper your expectations. It's not going to be anything massive. Think lasers. That's the one that like really gets me. The guys want to be like, I don't want to go ahead and say who it is or what's going on. I don't want to reveal too much. Already at risk of legal action against me by leaking this stuff if it is real. But man, think lasers. You're not going to put a laser pointer or any kind of actual real laser into a frickin' game console. I do agree with the article. Most likely they're talking infrared, which, again, we already got. Being a little silly. I do think, though, for this Switch sequel, we will most likely see a cheaper Switch sequel Lite come out. That's going to be about the $200 price point, and that's going to be targeted for the kids. And then a higher end OLED version like I have here for the adults that still go ahead and use it. Like, what if the guy actually tried to say, like, oh no, the Joy-Con's gonna have a laser projector built in it? Yeah, okay there, bud. That sounds believable. You know what else sounds believable? How about this for the most crackpotted thing ever? Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, who has a history of making relatively good Apple predictions, is predicting that Apple will have its first foldable product in the year 2028, and it is going to be a foldable iPad that runs Mac OS. Man, I want to know what Mark Gurman is on. I want to know what this guy is on, and why isn't he sharing? He is hitting some strong sauce before going on his break. First off, let me tell you this for starters. Any Apple prediction that's looking out 3 years plus, yeah, don't believe it. Just don't. I'm stunned that Mark Gurman is dumb enough to go ahead and put out a 3-year plus prediction. Like, that's what blows me away right here. He's normally better than this. Someone in chat says this has come from more than one source last they heard. I guarantee you they're both citing Mark Gurman, because let me tell you something. As someone who does cover this, anytime it's a Mark Gurman prediction, everyone covers it because Mark Gurman usually has a very good track record. I'll just tell you this right now. I don't believe him. I think this is a terrible prediction from him. I really do. 2 years, I would say, is when you start believing a prediction from Apple. Someone in chat said, why not? They predicted the Apple Vision Pro almost 3 years in advance. So here's the thing, right? With the Vision Pro, we didn't start getting actual accurate details about the Vision Pro until we started getting a year and a half out. Before then, most of it was just crackpot theories about rumors, about a report that Apple is getting into the VR space. We had those for roughly 4 years before the Vision Pro came out. Like, those have been going around for a long, long time. Things didn't start narrowing down that it was going to be strictly a high-end product looking for a high-end price point, specifically being a productivity targeted VR headset, until about a year and a half out to its launch. Before then, it's just, ooh, VR, Apple VR, can they do it right? Ooh. We didn't get the actual useful details until then. Here, we are already getting details that it's going to be a Mac OS device, because that's what's being implied here. That's going to run Mac OS apps. That means it's going to be a Mac OS device that is going to be a foldable iPad, but it's going to unfold to the size of 2 iPad Pros side by side. We're getting some serious details as to what we're getting. It's way too early to get anything trustworthy, because you could start getting the development of this, and in 1 year they're going to go, maybe making a, God, what would that be? 2 13-inch tablets side by side? What would that be? Like a 17 or 18-inch mega tablet? Like, that just seems way too unwieldy for them to do. I could see them go down to 2 iPad minis or 2 regular sized iPads, something in like the 9-inch space, and expand out to 13 or 14 inches. I could see that. That seems more practical. But the way it's being predicted here by Mark Gurman, you might want to lay off the absinthe or whatever you were on when you put out this prediction. I don't believe it, like, at all. I especially think that Apple's primary focus right now, when it comes to foldable, they want to try and solve the one thing that Samsung can't, and that's how to get that flexible screen to be able to be more scratch resistant. That is gonna be their big thing. Someone in chat asked, that even possible? Mac OS, yeah, a tablet that expands to 14 inches from a phone size. From a phone size, no. If you have it be like iPad mini size, which is like 8 inches, or regular iPad size, which is like 9.7 inches, expanding out to 14 inches, it could. I unfortunately don't know the math off the top of my head to know what 2 of those side by side unfolded would end up being, because it's not going to be 8-inch plus 8-inch equals 16-inch. That's not how diagonal screen sizes work. I want to say it's something like plus 50%, but I don't know. That's gonna be the big thing. Like, I don't believe this is going to happen, like, at all. That being said, though, over in the EU, our friends across the pond are forcing Apple to go ahead and make all of their devices interoperable with their rivals, meaning that these devices must be able to connect to iPhones as well as they connect to Apple devices. All right, you know what? I'm going to stick to Android, because Android likes to play with most devices well anyway. But this is going to be fun to watch, because there's one thing that's amazing with Apple, that Apple, whenever they get something like this from the EU, they go ahead and try to find a new and unique way to technically comply with the new law, but it's not going to be great in the way they do it. It's like, see, it works. It technically works. And it just, like, I don't know, doesn't control the base correctly or something like that, unless you pay for like Apple Plus or something. Like Apple is just kind of, when it comes to these compliances with the EU, they are just not that willing to do so. Someone in chat said Apple is a monkey's paw company. They really are, because the moment you ask for one thing, they're just like, all right, it'll come at a terrible cost. So, excuse me. Someone in chat says, I want to remind you, Eagle, it just works as an Apple slogan for a while there. Yeah, actually, can Apple go ahead and take that back? Like, recent history, somehow Apple lost that slogan to Bethesda, and I'd rather Apple keep it than Bethesda. Like, I'm not a fan of either their implementation of It Just Works, but I trust Apple to go ahead and say It Just Works more than I trust Bethesda to say It Just Works. I think that's one thing. Despite your opinions on Apple, I think that's one thing we can all agree on. Apple's better at that than Bethesda. Why did Apple drop that, actually? Because they still have just like absolute flawless integration with themselves. But man, you want to go ahead and use that JBL speaker you got? It might not be happy about that. Meanwhile, everyone, great news. OpenAI has now made it so that ChatGPT search is available for everyone. So now you too can use the power of AI to search for nonsense. Anyway, moving on, OpenAI, not to be outdone by OpenAI, Google is releasing its own reasoning model. So Google now is looking at their Gemini to go ahead and compare it to OpenAI's latest deeper thinking model, to go ahead and do that so it will hallucinate a lot less. So that way, there is more thinking and reasoning going on within the AI model, so that as it goes ahead and replaces your loved ones, it can go ahead and tell you why it is replacing your loved ones. It's okay. It's all part of the AI advancement you don't want. Obviously, I'm kidding a little bit. Like, I'm pretty sure AI doesn't want to replace my loved ones, right? Right? In any case, it's no surprise at all that Google wants to advance their own AI model, because every single AI company believes that AI is the future, despite the fact that the consumer response to AI is very, very low. Like, I want you to think on this for a minute. Devs of AI are getting sick of AI. Tech-savvy consumers are getting sick of AI. They just want to be left alone and do their own thing. The technologically illiterate look at AI and don't understand it, and don't understand what the point is, and want it uninstalled from their devices as quickly as possible. But yet, the tech companies keep pushing out AI out there, despite the fact that it appears that the demand for AI is non-existent. It is baffling for me. It is baffling to me that all of these tech giants have managed to gaslight themselves into thinking that this is the future and that this is exactly what's going to make them tons upon tons of money. And realistically, the only people who are using it are lazy people that are just trying to grift on content creation sites, because they can go ahead and churn out a whole bunch of either videos or pictures or handwritten articles or whatever that is actually just brainless slop for more ad revenue. That is the only use case we currently see in the modern day for AI, other than a few set of niche cases, such as the only example I can think of, the frickin' ChatGPT powered weather channel on YouTube that was designed by meteorologist Ryan Hall. And that's it. Oh, well, I guess we just get to enjoy more and more AI being forced down your throat. But wait, I'm not done with AI news yet. Did you know that OpenAI has a hotline? If you have nothing better to do with your life and you don't have access to your computer, you can call 1-800-CHAT-GPT to talk to OpenAI. I'm sorry, to ChatGPT. Why? What does this accomplish? Who is this for? You know what? No, there's no, the more questions I ask, the dumber I get. I should know this by now. If I ask too many questions, I'm going to be dumb enough to fall for what a whole bunch of other people did when they went ahead and bought the Hawk token. Speaking of which, the Hawk Tuah girl, who has a real name that I forgot what it is, has finally spoken after 3 weeks of being asleep and is finally saying that, yeah, what happened was bad from her branded meme coin, and that that she is currently fully cooperating with a legal team representing the people who got scammed, and that if they did lose money, they should contact said legal team. Actually trying to go ahead and see if this article I quickly grabbed for this even mentions legal team. It looks like it does not. Actually, she made the statement on her own Twitter feed. It should be right there. Yep, there it is, 2 days ago. Her actual statement on Twitter: I take this situation I take this situation extremely seriously and want to address my fans, the investors who have been affected, and the broader community. I am fully cooperating with and am committed to assisting the legal team representing the individuals impacted, as well as to help uncover the truth and hold the responsible parties accountable and resolve this matter. If you have experienced losses related to this, please contact Berwick Law using the link below, and then it contains a link. Look, here's the unfortunate truth. Okay. I believe that the Hawk Tuah girl did not know what she was doing. I really don't. I believe she got bad advice from the people who talked her into this, because this was gone ahead and handled by a company called Over Here Ltd. Okay. And they're the ones that kind of set this up, because it's not like setting up something like this is something that any idiot can do. So what's going to end up happening is Haley Welsh, the Hawk Tuah girl, is not going to be held responsible. She might be held for some damages, but they're not be able to pin anything with evidence that says she knew this was going to be an insider rug pull. They can go ahead and look at Over Here and say they knew. They most likely had intent because all the transactions are on the blockchain. They might be able to go after the people who actually did the rug pulling, but I do not believe that the victims are going to see a cent. Because I think when all's said and done, the people who are going to make out on this are the lawyers. We already know from CoffeeZilla's very comical interrogation of Over Here in the Twitter spaces they stupidly put on that they set up the funds offshore for this crypto launch, because that's how you set up one of these, even though that's how you try to go ahead and, you know, make it so that no one can hold anyone accountable. Just saying. And more than likely, if they get any money back, it's going to be a small fraction of what they should be getting back, and it's going to be lost in lawyer fees. That's just the unfortunate truth of this. I'd love to be wrong, though. I really, really would. Because let me tell you, I could put on a whole other podcast of just crypto rug pulls that are pulled. It would not be hard. I take that back. It'd be harder now, because they do happen a lot less frequently now. But they still do, in fact, happen. It's just the nature of crypto. Despite the fact that everyone wants to go, oh, it's the future. It's so good because it's decentralized and this, that, and the other thing. The truth of the matter is the fact that, well, it's used more often for scams than it is for any legitimate action. Which brings us to our last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto. This man right here, who claims that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. Even though all records of him actually has his real name as Craig White, he claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto, who is the actual inventor of Bitcoin. But this guy is so delusional that he has launched several legal cases alleging that many cryptocurrency outlets are not running Bitcoin in the way that he envisioned. I'm not going to lie. This might be the world's dumbest case of a fraud and imposter. I was about to say imposter syndrome, but that's not correct. Just straight up being an imposter that I have seen in a while. That this random Caucasian guy that people have confirmed is in fact Craig White insists on being the founder of Bitcoin. It's impressive. Someone in the chat says it's identity theft. It's not even identity theft. You want to know why? You want to know why it's not identity theft? An identity thief would actually go ahead and have at least sufficient legal documents to impersonate that person. This guy's just saying, I'm him. Trust me, bro. And then forge documents that says it's totally me for realsies. As in just forged his signature. The guy didn't even go ahead and try to forge a birth certificate or anything. This guy is so bad at what he's doing. Someone in chat says he didn't even present junk mail with that name on it. It's true, he didn't. Dude, that'd be the easiest thing in the world to get. God, the number of terrible pieces of crud that's out there on the internet, and all you have to do is just go ahead and claim you're this guy and that person and whatever. It's just all you have to do is just say like, yep, I'm interested in this, and it'll happen. That's it. You just got junk mail with your name on it, with your fraudulent name on it, with your address. So good job, random UK guy that is in the weirdest case of fraud I've heard in a while. You enjoy whatever nonsense you are trying to pull over here. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. I do encourage you to check out my other works, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon and youtube.com/EagleFalcon. Again, this is the last news episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech for the year. Next week is our prediction episode, and then after that is the new year. Yeah, we're wrapping up. The end of the year is nigh. Take care, and I hope you have a great holiday. Bye-bye. Like, I gotta ask, of all the weird freaking scams ever to try and pull, did the thought ever occur to just try to appear in court remotely? Like, did the thought ever occur that maybe having your picture taken and find out that no, in fact, you're not even close to being the correct ethnicity to known Japanese inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto? Did the thought ever occur? I just don't understand, man. There's probably a worse case of fraud out there, and by worse I mean more poorly executed, but holy smokes, this is way up there.